look younger, lose weight, feel better, make more money, be the man you always wanted to be. People buy results, not products. And on this episode of the Blunt Force Business Podcast, we're going to talk about selling outcomes instead of features. And if you stick around to the end, you'll get our 8-step process to help you do just that with your product or service.
Hi, welcome back to Blunt Force Business. I'm Brian LaFauci.
And I'm Patrick Marino.
You know what, Patrick? There's a saying that I know the beginning to, and it starts off, people don't buy your product, but I can't remember how it ends.
Are you asking me for today's Blunt Force fact? Is that what you're doing?
Well, was that passive aggressive?
A little bit.
What's the Blunt Force fact?
Today's Blunt Force
for
fact.
today?
So, well, before we say the Blunt Force fact, we should probably talk about what we're talking about, because that's why people are going to hang on and listen. Correct?
Correct.
We're going to talk about sales and marketing. And we are going to talk about the concept of when you are selling a product or service, you should sell the outcome, not the features. And today's Blunt Force fact is people don't buy your product. They buy what it does for them.
How it makes them feel, how it makes them look, how it makes them think about themselves, all those fun stuff. I relate to this in a lot of ways. And, we forget about this as business owners because we think people need to know, hey, this is what I do. This is what I do. This is what I do. And I was telling a story earlier on our call today. For those of you that are listeners to our podcast and are not engaged in our weekly Blunt Force Business Bowl call, where we help you to grow and strategize for your business. Well, on that call today, we were discussing this kind of topic, and there were really a number of things that stuck out with me and resonated. One of them was a recent discussion I was having where I was selling our product, our service, I should say, selling our service to a group of people who I knew were fully vested in this. It was a very warm sales conversation. I knew they were interested in what we're doing. I knew that for the most part, it was, unless I really jacked it up, they were going to move forward with us. But about 3/4 of the way through, I could tell that their emotional engagement wasn't there. And emotional engagement is something that we really have to get our prospective buyers to feel, right? And want to make the purchase. And I pivoted and I was like, you know what? Let me show you this video. And all I did is show about 90-second video that showed the end stage of the service that I just talked about, right? So it was a video of a bunch of kids at very organic, not staged, right? Just had a camera going around at this end showcase we had done for the service that we offer. And in the video, you could see the emotion, you could see the happiness, you could see what it did for them. And the minute the video was done, they're like, "Oh, I get it now. Okay, great. We want that for our kids." I'm like, I should just started with the video, right? Should have just started off there as opposed to this big long explanation of what our program does and how we do it, because they didn't really care. All they really, really cared about was, if you come on board with us, what are our students, who are their end users, what are they going to feel and experience as a result of this?
Yeah, how does this thing that we're trying to sell transform the user? And I think it's the classic advertising gimmick, because we all know ads that we've watched on TV when we were younger. And you forget this when you're a business owner, right? Because you're so focused on the things that your product does, right? Here's what my product does. Here's what my service does. Here's what you get when you buy it, versus here's the end, right? The end might be, well, I shouldn't say the end might be why do companies use attractive models to sell clothes? Because the result is that you're going to look and feel like that person when you wear the clothes, right? You're going to be that attractive. Or, the example I think of all the time is the old beer commercials, right? There's I think it was Old Milwaukee beer commercial where they're drinking beers, they're having this freaking great time. It transforms the great time you're having into all of a sudden the Swedish bikini team comes, right? So what you're selling is you're not selling the beer. You're selling the experience of having the beer with friends and
all that goes along
exactly.
with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And the Nike's a great advertiser, right? They're selling the lifestyle of just do it and being amongst successful athletes or hardworking athletes, right? Or the example that we discussed today with the group was the example of the pharmaceutical ads where you see the old people really enjoying life, right? And they're selling the results of using the drug, right? The why do I need the drug is because
Right.
I can't get out of the house. I can't do the things I used to do. Or was it the eczema? I can't remember the drug, right? But they're the idea that like I could wear a short sleeve shirt again because I don't
Right.
have eczema, right? So you're
Right.
selling this idea of this comfort level, or like hair. Sorry, I'm going to get personal here,
You
but
like
like
this. You like
the
this.
hair loss ones, right? The guys who are like like
Right.
out with their hair, or the Just for Men one where the girl sends the her dad out to the interview after dyeing his hair, right? So it's like these are ideas that are as old as time, and they work. You're selling the person the transformation. Like, this is what you're going to be like if you use the product or service. This is going to be the new you. So when we are working on our sales tactics, and this can be sales or marketing or both, right? It's how do you position your product or service for the end buyer? And you're doing it when you talk, as you did when you were pitching to these people specifically. And we then transform our advertisements, the ones that we pay for, or our website, or the things that we talk about in our emails. We transform those so that they resonate the same way with the people that we're showing them to.
And this involves a conscious, almost a little bit of a shift in your marketing as a business owner. You have to think beyond just, all right, I beyond just this is what I want people to know we sell or what we do, to this is the end user's benefit of this. And for some businesses, it's a little easier than others, but for everyone, they can find that ideal space where their user is experiencing, their end user is experiencing something. And by that nature, they are like, there's joy, there's happiness, there's ease, there's comfort, whatever it might be. And when I look back and if I look at a client typically, and I just did this review with one of the clients we're working with, and I went in and I did the deep dive into all of their social media that they currently have. And up until this point, the reality was, did it look professional? Yes. Very well done, very clean, good photos, good, they used all the right stuff. And we can talk about that a bit too. And, like the technical aspect of how our listeners could start to think about this and create it with good quality, right? But they did all the right stuff, but it was all salesy. It was all, this is what we sell, and, a nice picture of the thing. Nowhere in there did I really relate to, well, why do I want to buy that? What is the benefit of me, you know, buying that or having that? In this case, it was appliances, right? So how do we show the benefit here, to that end user and start to depict it that way? The other individual we talk about that's on our call right now with the dog training business. Okay. How do we showcase why people go to a dog trainer and what their end life feels like? He
Yeah,
does a
so
nice job.
let's break
Yeah,
that down
go.
for a second, because there's like really like a couple of different ways you could do that, right? You could show the person training the dog, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is what you're buying when you buy the dog training process, right? You're buying the the lessons, the hours that you spend with, here's how you do this, here's how you get a dog to do this, here's how you get a dog to do that, right? So that's one way of showing what you're selling. And the other way would be what we kind of talked about today, which I think you were going to reference. I interrupted you. What would be the idea of the end product, which is the dog behaving in what might be a stressful environment, right? And so can we
Walking, yeah.
show that, right? And the example I brought up, which I think of because of the environments I'm in, like, and you'll hear this, right? So like I'll be at a brewery, right? Breweries when he's outdoor, or even indoor now. Breweries where like people, there's a certain environment, people will bring their pets, and inevitably someone will say, I wish I could freaking bring my dog. My dog would be losing his mind. Or we'd be like, we're at these, because I'm a parent and I've got a kid who's involved in like youth soccer tournaments. And like you go there's a million people around and there's a couple of dogs. And again, the one parent will say, I couldn't possibly bring my dog to this environment.
Mm-hmm.
All these kids running around and all that. But like, so what a dog trainer would be able to show an outcome would be the dog just behaving perfectly, or even
Right.
responding to some sort of simple command while surrounded by the chaos, or just the enjoyment, right? Just the enjoyment of just having that experience. Like here I am with my companion that I've invested my time in, who I love like a child, like who I am just able to take everywhere because they're behaved, right?
Showing the end product. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Show
Yeah.
it's all about the sales of showing the end product. And you started with that great video, which was the pharmaceutical commercial. And pharmaceuticals, that's all they really sell. You never see you don't see people in pharmaceutical commercials popping a pill ever. You just see them enjoying things that otherwise without it they would not be able to start to enjoy or had struggled to enjoy. And so when you think about the marketing strategy, it goes back to the very beginning of business planning, which is problem solution and resetting back to problem solution. Like when we came up with this whole thing, what was the problem? Well, the problem was A, B, C, and D. And we built this business as the solution to that problem. So now from the sales and marketing standpoint, it's let's show people no longer experiencing that problem. Let's go back to the root cause and now show what life looks like or what things look like if you don't have that problem in your life anymore, and bring that front and center as a relatable removal of pain point. Yeah, and it starts with us identifying and like starting to lay out, okay, let's recenter. What are the pain points we're taking away again? What is the reason not the how we do it, what's the reason we created all this? And laying those things out. Because once you lay them out, then you can start to think of how are we going to depict and market the benefit of that. And so we showed a very professional, probably high cost commercial, TV commercial. So for most of the small businesses, they're looking for how do I recreate that in an environment where I'm not looking to have a TV commercial that shows this, right? So let's talk through a little bit of that,
Well, I think
how.
one of the easy ways is just to talk about results instead of process, right? So like, I mean, in my marketing, right, I'm selling more local customers, right?
Mhm.
So that's the simple statement to express what I'm going to do. Now, how am I going to do it? I've got SEO. I've got a new website that's got better conversion tools. We might run local ads, right? We're going to improve all the advertising that you're currently running. We might improve how you talk about all of the different towns and services that you service, right? But at the end of the day, the result, which is easy to paint, would be more local customers, right? So I'm
Mhm.
selling the results of what we do and what you're going to experience as a business owner versus the process, right? And so that's in everything that I talk about, like more local customers is in the email content that I put out. It's on the website. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a part of the whole marketing as a whole, right? It's part of individual advertising. It's part of the mission of the business that I run, right? So it's baked in. The result is baked in.
But if you think about it, if you're going to, when, a lot of times when we think marketing and advertising, I think our mind goes to, well, we need people to know what we're doing. So we get focused on this, we're marketing to educate
Yeah.
as opposed to marketing to show result,
Oh, I think
right?
that, like, there could be another way of looking at this as well. So it's like, first you need to get them in the door. You need to get them listening in the first place,
Right,
right? So it's like, I'm going to get you more customers. All right, I need more customers. Right now, I'm going to dig in. Okay, well, how are you going to do that? Well, now you have the opportunity to show them how. But you kind of got to get them in the door. You know what I mean? Like, so the pharmaceutical commercials are good examples, because what's a person going to do after they see that commercial? They're going to Google the drug, or the next appointment, they're going to talk about it with their
right. Go
doctor.
to their doctor.
Right. And their doctors, who are getting kickbacks from the pharmaceutical company, is going to be like, write the script, because I need the good review from you when you talk about me, and you're going to be happy in the customer survey, and I'm going to get all my insurance payout, whatever. Like, but like, that's the goal, is to pique the interest, right? So the result piques the interest, and then you got to sell the rest of it. Like, if you can start with the result, you know, I think that's, or even just like from a basic, we are talking about marketing, right? So what's referral marketing? It's somebody saying, like, hey, use Brian for this. You're going to want to use Brian's consulting agency, right? You're going to want to talk to Brian, because Brian knows about all that. Like, so, like, how does that relate to this? Well, the outcome is, I had a good experience with Brian, and I'm telling you that you need to go speak to Brian. So what does that do? That piques the interest. Like, the initial thing is, like, not, here's how Brian helped my business. It's,
Right,
my business is better off because I worked with Brian.
right.
You see how much better we're doing, right? Like, I don't seem as stressed out, right, as I was before. Go talk to Brian, right? And now, what's that person going to do? They're going to then ask you, well, how did you do this, and what can you do for me, right? But it doesn't start off with the how. It starts off with the result. Like, I want to be more independently wealthy. I want to be able to sell my business successfully. I've tried selling my business, and I can't do it. Well, let's go to Brian's business broker. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, this starts from the result. Like, and the testimonial would be one way of doing that too. And that's
I
how
think
referral marketing works.
right. And I was going to say the testimonial piece is going to have to be the way in some cases where there's some business out there where it's easy for you to show the impact, and some are more difficult for you to show the impact, for you to really, like, if I think about the reality of, if we successfully close a brokerage deal with a client, help them sell their business, the testimonial is one of the best ways to get end result, get someone to relate to the end result. Here's what happened. Here's what they did. They were great, right? All that stuff. Otherwise, what is the visual? Well, the visual might be, I asked them if I can swing by and, take some video of them heading out on the boat for the day instead of having to go into work, right? So things of that, which is a very viable little marketing tool, right? To be able to to show that stuff. One of the things I like to tell our clients and us and our staff internally too is, you always need to be thinking about, is there ability for me to capture this? Can I get this on camera? What's going on here? And it becomes kind of interesting, because I think people have gotten to the point now where they're just acclimated to the fact that when we are doing things, our company is in your building, we're taking video, we're just showing what's going on all the time. So it just becomes part of the process. Like, hey, get video, get as much material as you can that we can then show, this is what it looks like. And that's part of the biggest sticking point with companies is getting them in the habit of capturing the media. Because without the media, it's tough to do anything.
Yeah, show, don't tell. I was actually having it wasn't a debate, but I was talking to a young lady who works in education and literacy and teaching people to read, and like, but we were having this conversation about like why it's so difficult to teach people to read. And then it really, like, when you boil it down, we generally speaking are working with business owners. So like if you're a business owner, you pretty much have to read. But like, like if you're selling to a consumer, right, you might need to communicate in a better way. And like as humans, we weren't built to read. Like we had to that was hard to do. Like for most of human history, we didn't have to read. Right? There was no written word. There was no language. There were no words. There were no letters.
Mm,
Like these are in the grand scheme of human history, letters and words are newish.
yeah,
Language is newish, right?
yeah,
We learn and process information by seeing something visually or hearing it. And and our ability to take what we see and hear and turn that into a concept that we understand is like an unfathomably percentage better than like reading something, right?
right,
It takes us
right.
longer to read something. We see a visual, that's short form video. We see something in 15 seconds, we can learn what that does for us faster than reading a blog article, right? So I think that to your point, yeah, visually we can tell this story much better. And what you're going to be showing is not the process you're going to be showing. Now, the process is part of the overall story that you tell, but then your storytelling, you need to get them in the door first. So you're showing the outcome. You know what I mean? Like I improved one of my chiropractors, right? One of my chiropractors I work with, his practice is so much better. He had to open up a second office, right? So you don't need to know how I did that right away. You just need to know that I did that, right? And now that you know that I did that, now you get like, well, I want you to do that for me. How do I do that? And that's and by showing that outcome, again, like we've talked in the past about overcoming objections, and what's the number one objection usually?
Cost.
Yeah, exactly. So like we've kind of sidestepped costs because they want the result so much. Now, I mean, mind you,
Right.
costs might come up later, but like once you've sold the value of what you're doing, the cost conversation is far different.
Yeah, I saw that play out in real life recently. I was watching someone purchase a car, like, or going through the exercise of trying to purchase a car. And you and I will both relate to this because we're both BMW owners, right? But they really wanted a BMW for whatever reason. Well, could it be the image of it, whatever it was? They were dead set on BMW. So going back to the cost model, what ended up happening is because of the advertising message that BMW has done a phenomenal job of, relaying through their process, right? Putting you in a position where you see that and you think to yourself, I see the end use of that. It looks so nice and fun and whatever it is. They were doing everything they could to find the affordable one. Make it, find a way to make it work because they related to the end. The sales process was already done, right? Didn't even matter. Like, I
Yeah.
want that. How can I make it work? So, all right, well, I can't get that model. So can I get this model? And I want to be something a little newer. So I get like it, but it was really a beautiful exercise in marketing that we're talking about right now to watch happen. Because if you can do a good job, if your company can do a good job of selling the emotion of the end and how it relates to the client, they'll find a way to make it. They will absolutely find a way
Yeah,
to make it work.
they'll find a way to make it work, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the, and
It
you
could
were,
just be saving up,
yeah,
right? It's like
whatever. It's saving
I'm
up
not gonna do it. Yeah, exactly.
or spending more than somebody wanted to spend. It's amazing how do they find a way to make it work. And you had mentioned like the educational program that we run, and in one of the schools they want us to run it for the second class, and they didn't have the money, and they were like, "Are you comfortable doing it if and trusting that we'll find the money?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Now, is that this, would I advise every business to do that? When you only do that when you have a relationship. But the reality is, I believe them. I believe them because they want the end result experience. So they're going to find a way to make it happen. And the money wasn't the barrier anymore. It's because we've gotten them to the point where they want the experience. And even what's even nicer is once you market the experience, if that is real and and is organic, which is how I recommend everyone film what they're doing, the real organic experience that people are happy, then when they have the same thing happen, they just want it more, right? It was everything it was supposed to be. You market it one way, we bought in, we experienced it that way. I want more of it. Yeah. Give me more of that experience. I want another BMW. I can't go to the Kia.
Right,
And,
absolutely.
sorry,
Yeah,
you know.
they're sold. They're sold. You're sold, but like the as we said, we're selling they're sold on the outcome. What does it mean that
Right.
I'm driving this car? You know what I mean? Like, and that's I think what we need to do. So I think what we're going to do right now, Brian, if this is okay with you,
Mhm.
is we're going to give people the 8 steps that they can use to doing better with this, to selling more outcomes, not features. Can I go ahead and rattle those off and you can speak
Absolutely.
in
Let's
as you
wrap
hear
them
them?
up with the 8 steps. Let's go. Go ahead.
All right. So step 1, rewrite your pitch in customer language. So instead of saying we provide or this is something we do, talk about the things that they get, right? You're going to get this. You're finally going to be you're going to have the lifestyle that you want. You're finally going to be free because we're taking care of mowing the lawn. You're finally going to be free to sit back and watch the game, or because we've taken care of this. You know what I mean? Like because you own a tiny home instead of a big home, you've got more time, you've got more freedom, you don't have to worry about all the repairs, whatever it is that you do, rewrite it in customer language. Step 2, find the so what. Every feature needs to earn its place. Ask yourself, so what? So if we install premium systems, so what? So your operation runs smoother, right? If we get if we improve, like I'm trying to think of like an example for my business, like if we improve your website traffic, so what? Well, that means more people are going to know about your company, more people are going to click, and more people are going to raise their hand and say they want something by filling out a form. More people are going to click on the call button. So that's the so what. So you have to find the so what. You're selling the outcome. You're selling the calls, not the traffic, if you're selling SEO services. So we can all figure out that for our own business. Step 3, use proof that shows change. And this becomes the testimonials, the referrals. This is where the networking stuff comes in. We have somebody who works with us, who works with a lot of painting contractors. And if you just show a picture of finished cabinets that look fantastic, that's great. But what helps that even better, Brian?
Oh, is them seeing the before after.
Yeah, exactly. The before and after makes all the difference, right? So it's like, yeah, that looks great, but here's what it was before. It's like, oh my God, you can do that for me? Let's do that. I'm signed up, right? So, and I think that's where the referral. I mean, you're the big networker, and I think that like having somebody vouch for you, that's an example of outcomes based marketing. Anything before I keep going?
No, these are great. Keep rolling.
Step 5, audit your website and ads. Make sure you look at everything. This is where, to my example, I hate to keep bringing my example, but like once you come up with this, like again, like maybe for the dog trainer, instead of pictures of training, it's pictures of people and environments that might be stressful for dogs with the dog acting calmly, right? So we're flipping it to the outcome, right? I'm sure if you go to these pharmaceutical websites, you're seeing something similar to what they're showing in the cheesy commercial, right? It's the person enjoying their life as a result, right? We used to, when I was working in supplements, and I still consult with some supplement companies, you show the healthy people, right, enjoying their life, right? It's the result of taking the supplement.
Right.
It's not, you're not focused on the ingredients in the supplement, right? Why this, why does this make you better? That's like the after. It's not the hook, right? Make it measurable. You don't want to be vague with this stuff, right? An outcome isn't vague. It's something tangible. I'm going to make the phone ring more, or, you're going to save much more time if you use this. Your stress is going to be removed. You're going to make more money, right? We're going to 10x your business. We're going to, you're going to turn your investment greater. You're going to get more money in your bank account. I mean, all these things are more specific than just saying things are going to be better. Step 7, turn your outcomes into hooks. What I just mentioned, because like we live in this attention economy where everything's competing for your attention. How do you get them to stop the scroll? How do you? It could be the beautiful model. How do you get people to remember the commercial? Well, maybe the person who was in the commercial was beautiful. Maybe they were a compelling athlete. Maybe they looked like you, right? Use avatar marketing, right? So it's like if we wanted to sell supplements, we were generally speaking showing a middle-aged woman because that was the number one consumer of our supplements, right? And if you're going to sell like a creatine, obviously you'd want to sell it to a really buffed up dude doing a workout, right? That's a hook. And then the language, right? So mine is more local customers, just do it. How do you get people's attention? What's the hook? Short real incomes that turn the browser into a buyer. And then the last one, practice it live. And this is something we haven't done in a very long time, Mr. LaFauci, but it goes in the elevator pitch, right? It's part of it. And how do you get your elevator pitch correct? I don't know, did you just say, we haven't done any entrepreneurship stuff together in a long time, but you'd have the elevator pitch. I remember when I was working with one of the entrepreneurship programs I was working with, one of the mentors, one of the big changes he wanted to make was to have every class start with the elevator pitch,
Yeah.
because that gives the person the ability to keep practicing it. If they have changes to make, because these things evolve, as you know, then they can change it and then practice it and be able to say it. It reinforces what you're trying to do. It reinforces your ability to speak about it, which will then reinforce your ability to communicate in other forms of communication. So you got to practice it as well. Live, right? You practice, like, say it.
Yes. Over
Have a
and
sounding
over
board.
and over again. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Those are the 8. So people have a takeaway now. So they go out there and focus on your outcomes. Focus on how your product or service is going to make the person's life better.
And
Make
let
it
them see
specific.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
How can
And
you
let them
show it?
see it. Show it in a way where you're showing people at the end, whether they're happier or their workload is increased, and the more organic it is, the less staged it is, right? We all see staged commercials that we know what they are, right? Oh, you're trying to show me, like the lawyer commercials. You called DeOliveira and Morgan. Let's just settle, right? A stage boardroom is, everyone knows it's kind of a little nonsense, right?
Well,
But the
that
reality
does,
is,
though. Like, I mean, like, think
it's
about
it's this.
how
It
effective
is
that commercial is, though, right? It's
very
very
effective.
simple message. And what do people like? Again, like, why is it cheesy for us? Because we're not the target, right? We're not the
Right,
target, right? We're seeing it, and it's in the middle of a football game, and it's coming in at a time where we're only half paying attention. But
right.
it's a really effective
And it is
message. Like,
this kind of marketing. It
yeah,
is. You're saying, right? Because
if you're going through something like that,
you don't want to
if
have to
you're
go to court. You just want someone to
exactly,
write you a check. You want someone to, you want the lawyers to handle it, stroke you a check, so you don't have to. Nobody wants to show up in court. Everyone wants it to get done before they go in front of the judge. So a beautiful example of what you're trying to say are those lawyers, right? Where that say we're going to get you all this money and you're not even going to have to go do anything. You just got to show up, talk to us. We'll take care of all the back end work.
yeah. But to your
And
point, in the modern, for most of the people who are consuming this, who are not
Hmm.
multi-million dollar law firms who have a lot of money for broadcast commercials in the middle of football games.
Right.
We're using a more organic approach. I think that's what you're talking about, right?
Correct. Correct. Show as much as you can about real results with real people, and people will relate. They'll relate. They'll feel the emotion, and they'll want to experience it as well. Good stuff.
If you want a recap of that particular of those 8, you could review the video and watch it. Make sure you go to our school channel, school.com/ it's in the descriptions, one dash force dash business, and you will find the notes for this podcast so that you can have them with you instead of having to go back and read it over and over and over again. As long as with some of the notes for our previous podcast.
Awesome. Good stuff today. Think about the end at the beginning, right? Think about the end at the beginning and show the emotion.
I like
Do you
that.
have
Well,
a closing?
we don't usually do the closing quote, but I like
I
it for
know, but
this
it's a
one.
good one today. Let's close with a
This
quote.
one. The closing quote is, I can't remember it now. People aren't, what is it? Oh God, what's the closing quote, Brian?
You got it. You got it.
People don't want a 1/4-inch drill. They want a 1/4-inch hole.
Amen. I knew you'd get it.
I had to
Go
look
make
it up.
1/4-inch holes. I'm Brian LaFauci.
Patrick Marino.
Until next time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of this episode. If you found the information valuable, you know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, and make sure you leave us a review. Next steps. Join our free school channel to find the worksheets and other resources associated with this episode. And when you're ready to take your business to the next level, it's time to join the Blunt Force Business Bold program. You can find the links to the Bold program and our school channel in the episode description. Thank you so much, and good luck with your business.